welcome back to another very special episode of Spotlight with our very special friend, Marie Cloud. Thank you, Marie, for being with us today.
Thank you so much for having me. Such a pleasure.
For those meeting you for the first time, tell us a little bit about yourself and your journey in creating that led to Indigo Pruitt.
Oh, all right. Where do I start? So, I mean, as cheesy as it sounds, I do feel like I've been like designing spaces probably before I knew I was doing it, if that makes sense. I'm very intentional about my environment and the type of temperature and energy I bring to a space. And so that kind of just evolved into like tangibles and the actual aesthetics within a space. I grew up always paying attention to how rooms made me feel, not just how they look, but like what is that? What's the vibe? And like what is this space doing to me? And so when I launched Indigo Pruitt, I wanted to build a studio where that instinct was the actual method, right? And so the name itself, is an actual homage to the depth of that richness I wanted every project to carry. And so, we design homes that are genuinely personal, color forward, and definitely rooted in how people want to feel when they walk through the doors.
And did you know you always wanted to start your own studio, or did it just kind of happen in a way?
Um, so I think the goal was always to at some point build something of my own. I didn't really know exactly what it was. So take a step back, my background is design. I have a bachelor of science in interior design, but I also took a lot of artsy and creative courses. So I knew there was some sort of creative entity I wanted to create. I just didn't quite know the layers from a business standpoint, what that was going to be. The shift kind of happened when I stopped asking clients or friends really like what they wanted, and I really started just having good conversation, and that led into the aesthetic conversations. And after a while, I was operating as a business owner without really even knowing it.
And I do like how you were saying earlier that you like how, spaces can transform how you feel. And of course, you always want to take your client's standpoint into mind, but you've got to come with your creative philosophy first. So
Mhm.
with that, where did that philosophy come from? I know you said it started and it's always been in you, but maybe how has that evolved over the years?
I think that evolution and that shift kind of started when I like I said, stop asking clients what they like and started asking them how they wanted to live. I think those are two dynamic paths, right? That's going to shift the trajectory of the conversation. And so those are obviously like completely different questions. And so within that, I realized most of the design conversation tends to center around aesthetics, finishes, furniture. But a home really does shape our nervous system. And I feel like that was getting lost in the midst of the beauty and the aesthetics. And so, really understanding and also experiencing that um, these aesthetics and these selections are shaping how we rest, how we work, how we show up for the people that we love. And so once I understood that, it's like one of those things that you just can't unknow, right? Like I can't just erase that knowledge and that knowing. And so that kind of became where the work actually started for me. It was something that I was intuitively doing. Clients began to value it as an end result of what we created for them. And I just started to add language and layers to the expression of that knowing and that like inner business work so that people could almost identify us as being intentional about that layer.
Well, and not to pull a great quote from you, but I am. So you like to say home is identity made physical, which I feel like that is truly the embodiment of your creative philosophy and process. But what
Mhm.
does that mean to you? Like, how do you help clients uncover their identity through this process? You've kind of become a
Yeah,
psychologist in a way.
I think,
Designers have
whew,
so many
that's a lot.
hats.
I know, right? I think it's this notion of understanding that without getting too deep, I'll try my best, but I'm very much a deep thinker, and it's very hard for me not to think beyond what's in front of me. It's very hard for me not to be intentional about decision making and actions. And so um I kind of just came to this understanding that our homes are not lying to us, right? Like you can say anything about who you are, but your home really should show that, right? The colors you choose, the things you keep, or the things you don't keep, or the colors that you're afraid to apply. The way that you move through your space. All of that is data. All of that is information, and so it became um a very weighted job and an honoring job to help clients read that information, right? And synthesize what does all that mean, and then make intentional choices and decisions about what they want their homes to say. And it's less about the taste, more about the truth telling. So it's like an unveiling of like really genuinely who you are, versus who you think you should be, but based on what you see on social media or Pinterest and all of that. And oftentimes that's like the default answer for our homes versus really pulling back those lies of that's not you really don't like that shade of blue, like you actually hate it. It's probably triggering for you, but Instagram said that it's trendy and it's awesome, and so it's plaster all over your wall and you're wondering why you're miserable and sad all the time.
That's so, yes, because it is funny. It's like, do I actually like pink all the time, or is just blush pink really in
Yeah,
right now? But like
yeah.
you're saying here, color is clearly one of your signatures. And I pulled another quote from you, sorry. But you did
No,
also
good.
say it's not the color, it's the context, which is what you're leaning into. Can you, I know you've already spoken on it a little bit, but can you expand that
Yeah.
idea? And like, what do you think most people misunderstand when designing with color?
Yeah, that's such a good question. Yeah, color, I mean, it really is the context of that application, right? Color behaves differently in every room. And I think we hear that on the surface, but the depth of really what that means really is powerful. And so the same shade on a north facing wall in Charlotte reads completely different than it does in a sunlit loft in Brooklyn. People make color decisions based on a paint chip under a fluorescent light, and then wonder why when they get it home it's just not working. So context includes your lighting choice, your scale, what the room is actually for, what is that functionality within that space, how long you're going to spend time in there, what sits next to that room. Color really is a responsive material. And so the biggest mistake people make is treating it as though it's just a fixed thing.
And this is why, yes, everyone should have creative freedom in their own homes. But if you truly want a professional opinion, this is why you hire designers. This is why
Mm.
you don't know about color theory. I don't personally. I should have also add that I'm purely in marketing. I love and appreciate interior design, but there's so much
Yeah.
I still don't know, even though I've read numerous books and read about it all the time. But I feel
Yeah.
like this is a natural segue for me. I want to talk about blHUEprint here. So
Okay.
you recently introduced blHUEprint, which feels like a very natural extension of your design philosophy. What inspired you to create it, and what gap were you hoping it would fill for homeowners and fellow designers?
Yeah, so blHUEprint is my new baby. It's the design house for Indigo Pruitt, right? So we refer to it as the design house for intentional living. So it's where Indigo Pruitt Design Studio creates and serves one client at a time. It allows me to share my design perspective with everyone else, right? Whether that's through our licensing collections, curated pieces, um, educational elements. It allows us to do that in a way that doesn't feel as though you have to lock into full service design. It's a different way that we can offer our design philosophy in various pieces. It is not, your typical design decor shop. That is not the goal. The goal is for it to be literally a home. That lobby is the space where you can come in and get these sensory elements, whether that's downloading a playlist for your home that aligns with your different time of day. Then you go up to the next level, and that may be, you actually booking a studio session, which is a one-on-one conversation around a design challenge that you're having, a video call with me where you're able to, really assess those hurdles and those concerns without feeling the need to commit to full service design. Or you may want something that's just a guide, that's just a resource for you to attack some of those challenges. And that's when you can, get one of our color playbooks, or, one of our future guides that we'll be offering. So it is a place that allows you to extend that Indigo Pruitt design philosophy and aesthetic in different ways outside of, full service design.
That's what I thought it was. And if anything, that'll be great for our pretend client we were talking about earlier who hated her color of her house. So, and I do want to touch on two. I know we've danced around it and philosophy and how, things are making us feel in our homes, but wellness has also been a major conversation in our industry as a whole.
Yeah.
But you've been weaving it into your work in a very intentional way.
Mm.
How do you define wellness driven design? And where do you see that potentially heading in the industry?
Yeah, so I think because we're in a place in general in society where people are looking for spaces of retreat and refuge, and that third space, wellness has become a very popular buzzword, sometimes, feeling more of a trendy word. And I tend to run from trend related language and trend related spaces. However, I think it's important for us to embrace the fact that people are actually looking for spaces to make them feel good and make them feel more whole. Like, this is a good thing. And so I share that because we can't bifurcate what's happening in the world, what's happening in society, societal trends with our industry. And so, with that being said, we're seeing a shift in wellness design being something that really is a necessity for the way that we approach design. From my perspective, it's nothing new, right? It's always been around, but it has become something that is a non-negotiable from my perspective on how we design. So it is essentially, how can we be more intentional and more solution based when we're making these design decisions, and it's not solely based on beauty. And so for us, we hold a science and design accreditation in neuroaesthetics, which is the study of how the built environment and the design environment impacts your brain and body. So for me, wellness design isn't a trend or an aesthetic. It is really the understanding that space is a measurable effect on how people feel and function. So where the industry has gone sideways and treating it like a look, a white minimal plant linen pillow approach, right? That's not really what we're talking about, or at least it's not my perspective. We're talking about acoustics, light quality, how the room flows, what colors do your cortisol level, requires during certain moods and certain time of day. And so the designers who do this work rigorously, they're the ones worth watching right now. It is not, the core ethos of everything for us, but it's the added layer that allows us to be able to make a better educated decision as we're serving our clients.
Absolutely. And we got to have a great interview with Nina last month, and where she's
Oh, I
totally
love
into
Nina.
bio. I know she's the best. And how she is totally into biophilic, and quite literally, like you're saying, there is design, or sorry, there is science behind these designs. It's truly,
Yeah.
yes, form follows function, but also form follows how it makes you feel.
Oh, and can you tell us more about the collection you did with Spoonflower?
Have a collection with Spoonflower. We launched it last year. It has been doing so well. We are expanding some of our colorways, some of our patterns over the next 2 quarters.
Yes. What was your inspiration behind this wallpaper collection? I'm actually looking at it now.
Yeah, so the goal was to create a collection that was accessible. oftentimes I've been having these conversations with clients and with folks of really not finding accessibility to the beautiful bold patterns and prints that we see in my projects. And so the goal was to create something that felt accessible. So we did wallpaper and fabrics, a number of different patterns with Spoonflower. The collection launched last year and it has been doing so well. And so over the next year, we'll be expanding some colorway and pattern options. And all of those are available on spoonflower.com. You can also access our collection on our blHUEprint house as well.
And it's so beautiful. I really am liking the big and the bold, and that's definitely beautiful. And I did want to ask, so looking back at your entrepreneurial journey, where were some of the biggest turning points that helped transform Indigo Pruitt from a design studio into the multifaceted brand it is today?
Yeah. I think one of the big turning points for me, and I think there's been pocketed moments of this, of realizing that there are things that are God-given talents and gifts, right? There are things that you're really good at. For a long time, I just took those, yeah, that's something I'm good at. I have a natural knack for that. There have been just beautiful seasons of God just revealing, like, hey, this genuinely is a gift that is set apart that you're supposed to steward well to the world, right? And then there's things that you work really hard for that you want to apply to your business. So really taking the time to pull back the layers of, right, what are all the things that I'm good at? What are the default gifts and talents that I have in my tool belt that I can apply to this business in a way that feels honoring to who I am, where I come from, and then like where I want to go. So that's a long way of me saying the beauty of all of this has come from a place of me just embracing who I am and applying those layers to my business. Like I am not the one trick pony designer where I literally want to operate in this lane. This is it. This is the lid. I want to be able to explore all the depths of what I can bring to the table unapologetically, right? And then ensuring that I'm creating space and opportunity for a legacy personally, and then for the larger span of our industry, in reference to creating space for designers that look like me, creating the blueprint and the path that I didn't necessarily have. So I think really the pivotal moments have been taking time to really cultivate the essence of who I am so that I can show up as that in my business.
And you're truly such a creative in the fact that you have literally been able to make a business out of yourself, out of your expertise, out of not only your natural, but also your educational. I know you went and got a degree for all of this, but also your natural given talents. Like that's truly kind of a dream for most people and very, very beautiful. This actually helps lead naturally to my next question. And many of our members are growing their own design firms, and they're trying to stay true to their creative vision, which I know can be kind of difficult. But what is one lesson you've learned about building a successful business without losing the heart of it and why you started it? Easier said than
done. Yeah, for sure. I think I've a few thoughts, so just track with me. I think one, embracing the fact that vision can shift, right? Like, so as you evolve as a person, as you evolve as a business owner, as you evolve just as a woman, right, in different seasons of life, like being okay with the fact that vision is going to shift and acquiesce to what's happening in your current disposition, right? And then also trends with the market. So just being okay with being nimble and flexible with that is for type A personality is a very hard thing, right? Like we see the plan, we make the plan, that's the way it's gonna go, right? So getting comfortable with that shift early, but then also to speak directly into this design world, a big turning point for us was we needed to get comfortable with saying no to the wrong projects. That was kind of a big shift for us. So when I started being more selective, the caliber of the work went up, and so did the clarity of what the studio stood for. So the second the second piece was really building a team, right? Building a team. We're very lean here, but I'm very intentional about the lanes and the workflows within that lean team. I can have a vision all day, but the execution requires people, to carry that out, or I'm going to consistently be in a burnout season, which we all have experienced, right? And so I have a team that allows me to operate at the level where I can actually do my best work, and that has taken time. We're still regurgitating the vision so that I'm staying in alignment and I'm staying in stride with that, and I'm trying to bring on the team to support that, and the future movement of what that needs to look like. And then the last thing that I would say, that's ongoing, is learning to treat press and recognition as tools for the business, not validation. They serve a purpose when they're strategic about it. That piece has been like, just such a huge go moment for us, but also it's a testament of me. Just, I never really cared about the spotlight, but because my mindset was always that press recognition is literally a tool for business, and I don't care about the vanity metrics or the validation. One, I believe God continues to bless that, right? And because it's just your heart posture is correct. And two, it serves a purpose. There's strategy behind it.
And again, I hope everyone truly takes your advice, because we have heard it from other designers. You've got to be nimble, you've got to adapt while, of course, staying true to yourself. But yes, like being able to say no to the right clients and building your team is also another huge one I've heard too. But
Mm,
seriously, congratulations on all of your success with Indigo Pruitt and
thank
all of
you.
your many endeavors. Because I also want to call out congratulations on being House Beautiful's next wave class of
Um,
2026. How
thank
do you
you.
feel
Thank
about that?
you.
That was like, what did this recognition mean to you personally, and how, I don't know, has it affirmed anything?
Yes. It is really a great feeling. House Beautiful is the it girl in my world, and always have been prior to me even starting the business. Love 80, love, all the publications that we drooled over, when we thought about this design dream. But there's a special place that House Beautiful has always lived in my heart. And this year they're celebrating their 130th anniversary. And so it's really not a small thing. Being included in that class in this particular year is something I don't take lightly. It definitely affirmed the way that I've been positioning this work, and how it's landing. This very audacious, color forward, identity driven, design isn't a niche. It really is the ethos of how we're able to show up to the world, and it's so affirming, and it's a great feeling to know that it has landed well, not only with followers and clients, but with those that we have looked up to for a number of years. So it's where the conversation, I think it has helped move where the conversation is headed and where I've been building towards. And it's definitely the kind of recognition that tells you the market is catching up to the work.
I was looking at the whole class. Everyone has done such great work. Everyone's so uniquely different too. It was just a very, very fun. It was very fun looking at
Hmm.
that for the 130th anniversary. Um,
Yeah.
well, and lastly, what's next for you, Marie Cloud? Got anything, whether it's
Ooh.
Indigo Pruitt, blueprint, what do you see coming in the next year?
All of it. That has been my answer, to that question. I've done a couple podcast interviews recently, and this idea of what does the future hold, all of it, all that my little heart desires, and all that I've worked hard for. My goal is to leave no crumbs, to leave nothing behind. I think we're in a place where there's a lot of momentum. There's some exciting things coming about in the fall, maybe a little new show house moment, perhaps. So we're excited about that. We have another podcast taping in late October. High Point Market is in October, so there's always exciting things happening there. And then on the blueprint side, we have some exciting new resources that we'll be launching soon. Our textile collection will be expanded. Um, within the third quarter. And so I'm excited about that. I'm excited to keep things moving, and really staying rooted in kind of who we are and where we are. There's so many, I feel like a lot of firms are pivoting and doing a lot of new things, and that's awesome and that's great. I just genuinely believe in staying in stride and staying faithful in like where we are right now, and not trying to shift too much. And so I'm just focused on doing the work that's in front of me well, and letting the next things kind of come from that. I really want to stay faithful in this foundation, and see kind of what evolves from that standpoint.
Perfect, Marie. Thank you. And such exciting stuff. And please continue to keep us updated. We're always happy to share.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for meeting with me today. This was so much fun.
Yeah. Thank you so much for your time. Thanks for the invite. I cannot wait to stay connected.